Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I've recorded this video probably 3 or 4 times because I was trying to use my camera, but I just cannot deal with the crappy quality on my camera. This is a Canon G11. Um, I've had this since 2008 roughly, and just the video quality on it is it's garbage. Using for photos, it's still pretty decent, but the videos, it's just I can't bring myself to do it. I'm too much of a perfectionist to bring myself to do it, so I'm gonna have to talk kind of quick to use my phone because the storage on it is just becoming crappy. Because I realize now that I have the 32 gigabyte iPhone 7, and that's why I've been having issues. So it's gonna suck, but I'm gonna have to upgrade next year, or yeah, probably at the end of next year when I'm back working full time again, to the 256 gig because I'm probably gonna end up using over half of the 256 gig because I end up deleting over at least 125 gigs worth of stuff off of my iPhone so I can have space to record. So back to Venom. Those of you people saying that you don't like Venom, I get it. I'm a devil's advocate for 100% of things. I totally see your side of it. And from a filmmaker side, I can totally see why people would not like Venom. But as a Spider-Man fan, as a nerd, just an all-around nerd, as a comic book nerd, as just my interest in general, I love Venom. The movie as a standalone movie, I love it so much. Even though I know it's one of those movies where, as a standalone, it is my guilty pleasure. And in the Marvel universe as a whole, it works. It didn't work at first in the beginning. As I started watching it, I kind of didn't like where they were going with it from a Marvel from an MCU standpoint. That's easier to say, so I'm going to say MCU. So from an MCU standpoint, it didn't really work at first, but if you keep watching and you look at the little details and you break it down, it works completely, and it actually works out better than what they were trying to go for with before, with the original timeline of how Venom and Spider-Man kind of connect, and what keeps them connected and what makes them have their little rivalry slash bromance. I consider them to have a bromance, even though Venom is an anti-hero. That's usually how bromances are anyway. It's usually one person is kind of the good person of the bromance, and then there's the other one who's kind of the opposite of that good person. Not necessarily a bad person, but they are the opposite of the one that's more good, usually. But the movie itself, they had some pretty good cinematography. I will say the cinematography is best when it comes to Venom and Tom Hardy and I think his name was Nathan Drake, if I remember correctly. I don't know if his first name was Nathan, but I'm pretty sure his last name was Drake. The villain of the film. I mean, that's not a spoiler. That's pretty obvious that the scientist guy that brings the symbiotes to Earth he's pretty obviously the villain. And that's usually how it is with Marvel movies. The big important scientists, the ones that are usually in charge, are usually the bad guys in Marvel movies. Sorry if that's a spoiler for you, but that's usually how it goes. Because look at the Avengers, even Iron Man is he's the big science smart dude, and he's technically the villain majority of the time. Even during the Civil War, he was definitely the villain. You cannot dispute that Iron Man was the villain in Civil War. They even pretty much advertised it that way. But back to Venom. The action scenes were okay. It was the really best when it was just Tom Hardy, and the chase scene was kind of the best. And then, actually I take that back. For me personally, the best fight scene is actually at the end of the movie, just because he Sparta kicks. And the reason for that is that's part of what people probably didn't like, because they didn't understand that the more he used Venom, the more he started to become good at fighting and all that. And it took me a minute to wrap my head around that. Thinking about it afterwards, it's because every time he was at Venom, their brains were becoming fused essentially, and everything that Venom knew, Tom Hardy was starting to learn and basically become a natural at doing the same things that Venom did, and all in a way even better because he's more the human body is more agile and more sleek. than the symbiote's physical form, their humanoid form. Um, so yeah, that was one of the best things for me, just seeing Tom Hardy and then Venom together. Like my favorite scene throughout the whole movie is between, I guess you would say, the beginning of the second act, if you will, when Venom and Tom Hardy are face to face talking. Not the car scene. I'm not gonna give it away because it's kind of a spoiler. Well, it's not really a spoiler, but it's just a really big. It should be a big part of. It should be a big moment in the movie, but it's really not. It's just I don't want to give that part away. You can figure that out for yourself. It's after he sees himself and he sees his reflection, and I feel like that was a. I forgot what they call that. I call it a homage, but I can't remember what the actual term, the film term is for when they do that. They did a homage to the Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, when he was in the black suit, this black symbiote suit. He woke up hanging upside down to the side of a building, and he looks at his reflection and sees the Venom. They kind of do a little homage to that with Tom Hardy, who, but this time instead of a building, it's actually a car mirror or a car window, which makes sense for his character because Venom doesn't really swing like Spider-Man does, even though I'm pretty sure he could at one point, unless that was just a PlayStation trying to give reason for Venom swinging in the air. Um, and I would mention in the previous recording that I tried to say clearly, the romance in this, I'm normally someone who's for romance, but in Venom, the romance doesn't really work. It's kind of aggravating and kind of stupid. It's really just a way to get the story rolling and connect Tom Hardy to the villain. Pretty much, she's pretty much just a throwaway character, honestly. Even though gives a perfect moment for Stan Lee to show up, it really does. The Stan Lee scene is, they always get his stuff right. That's also my second favorite scene throughout the entire movie, even though it's not important, because Tom Hardy Tom Hardy doesn't talk to Stan Lee. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he ignores him. It was Venom who's like, who was that guy? And Venom has like the best like little throwaway quotes in there. Venom is basically Captain America, and to where like he has, you know how Captain America has his little short hero lines, like Venom has his short anti-hero lines where they are hilarious as heck, and if you don't find them funny, you have some issues. Either you have some issues, or we need to just make you watch some movies where you understand that those lines are funny. But yeah, so that's pretty much it without giving spoilers away. After thinking about it, and I haven't had a chance to watch it again yet because it's still in theaters. I'm not going to go see it in theaters again because I don't have the money to do that. So I'm waiting. As soon as it comes out on digital, and hopefully I will be working when it's out then, I am going to buy it digital, and I'm probably going to watch. It's going to be one of those ones where I watch it probably 100 times, over 100 times in 2 years. So because it's very important, and I hope they keep going with it. Even though, ignore the critics that are saying that it was terrible. And even though it kind of is overall a terrible movie, I understand. Just don't let their point of view affect your experience going in. Go in with no expectations whatsoever at all. If you do that, I'm not gonna promise you, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna be walking out like, okay, that was alright. That wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It's an in-betweener. One that I want to see more of. I want to see him with Spider-Man, which will be interesting to see because that's why it was so great. Is like the tone was definitely different than Spider-Man. Like you could tell. It was almost like a DC movie, to be honest. And that's probably part of why a lot of people didn't like it, because it was very similar to DC in tone and how they went about it. It was overall a very serious movie because I was looking for the jokes, and I realized the jokes were coming in through Venom, and more so through the second act. They started coming out a lot. So there's that. If that's what you're looking for, just listen to Venom. You will find the jokes, and then roughly halfway through the second act, I believe, you will start to see more jokes in Tom Hardy as well. Even in the beginning, he does have his little jokes, but they aren't really. I feel like there were jokes that really weren't meant to be funny. At least for me, they weren't. They were kind of serious jokes, and I would have laughed with them. They were like during serious moments, which is why I'm like they were kind of serious jokes. So I'm getting into 10 minutes now, so I'm gonna cut this off and I'm gonna upload it because I have another video to record kind of quickly after. So thanks for watching. More to come, and I'm sorry I just had to clean my nose, but I live in a dorm right now where they like to keep the room extremely cold during fall. And I'm hoping they cut that crap during winter, even though I know they didn't. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, they didn't. Either they didn't my freshman year or they made it too hot during the winter, which will be even worse. I would rather it be too cold because too much heat, I will get sick very quickly. And I just went off of a rant. So thanks for watching.